Hello humans, I'm Yoshiller, and, perhaps to nobody's surprise, I'm a huge fan of the Super Smash Bros. Series of games. The original Nintendo 64 title was one of the first games that I ever owned, and I've tried to make a bit of a name for myself in the Super Smash Bros. Community by editing some of Source Gaming's videos, and by competing in Smash Wii U and Smash Ultimate tournaments. So then, it also shouldn't come as a surprise that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is my most played Nintendo Switch game. Except when you refer to the content that I've posted on my main gameplay channel over the years, something doesn't quite add up. That's an awful lot of hours for a game that doesn't nearly occupy as much of my channel as several other Switch releases like The Legend of Zelda or Splatoon games. And sure, I have hundreds of hours in those games too, but that seems more justified when you consider the fact that I posted literal hundreds of videos for those games collectively. In contrast, I've only ever posted a few dozen Smash Ultimate videos, yet my total playtime for the platform fighter is greater than my playtime for the aforementioned games combined. Splatoon even seems more comparable when compared to my content output. I put a lot of videos out at that game, and I play that game a lot in my own time. But why is Smash Ultimate such an outlier? Why does it have so much playtime even though I haven't recorded it nearly as much as I have with other Switch titles? Well, the truth of the matter is that I play the game quite often, and I just don't typically record it. Yeah, I know that information is not all too shocking of an answer, but it doesn't quite explain why my playtime is this high, nor does it explain why it's substantially higher than Legend of Zelda or Animal Crossing or Splatoon. So to answer that portion, I must reveal a bit of a tradition of mine. Every week, most often on Fridays, sometimes on Saturdays, and every once in a while on a different day of the week, I play 4-player free-for-all matches with my good friend, Jug Head 870, or Juggy as I call him, and I've been doing so for the past 15 years. We play with items on, hazards enabled, 2-minute time matches, and we can play for 3 or 4 hours at a time. We'll usually hang out in a Discord call while we play, although back then it started as a Skype call. And though we've missed a few weeks here and there, we've been having these get-togethers ever since we first started playing together back on the Wii with Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And actually, the story doesn't even begin there. It truly begins with Mario Kart Wii. Allow me to enlighten you with a history lesson of how Jughead 870 and I were two of the most prominent Mario Kart Wii players, and how the old Wii game would lead to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate becoming my most played Switch title by a long shot. To begin this tale, we gotta go all the way back to 2008, which was a very different time for social media. And if you can believe it, YouTube used to look like this. And mind you, the 2008 period also didn't really have gaming influencers yet, at least not in the same way that you'd know them now. This meant that YouTube was, as it claimed to be, just a platform for sharing videos. This is back when videos can only be a certain length and people hadn't quite figured out algorithm chasing yet. As such, short gameplay clips were all the rage, and direct capture footage of games wasn't always commonplace. In fact, if you were able to record direct capture footage of any game, that immediately gave you an advantage because at the time, most people were recording their games with a video camera pointed at their television monitors. So, if you were an aspiring creator in the gaming space with a capture card, you had an immediate advantage. Enter Jughead 870, a YouTube user who posted direct feed gameplay of Mario Kart Wii. When playing online, he would race under the meme name of Rich Petty, named after the famous NASCAR driver, Richard Petty. In addition to posting Mario Kart Wii gameplay and showcasing the wacky world of online races and battles, Jughead 870 stood out by using YouTube's annotation feature to effectively provide text-based commentary for each video, which was a novel idea at the time. Sadly, YouTube has since removed these annotation features, so the novelty of these videos are now lost to time, but they otherwise did, and still do, serve as a nice time capsule that archive a different period for both social media and the content that was uploaded to it. So Juggy kickstarted this Mario Kart Wii annotated video idea back in 2008, and fast forward to 2010, where he had made a bit of a name for himself as Rich Petty in Mario Kart Wii. Meanwhile, I had separately made a bit of a name for myself due to the growing popularity of my new Super Mario Bros. Wii co-op walkthrough videos. Ever since I uploaded that series, that put my name on the map, and I felt more incentivized to record more games with my high school friends, as I just had fun doing so. So I did just that, and I'd rotate out different high school friends for different videos based on availability and preference. One such friend that was in rotation was Anthony, who was known online by the alias Shrooby. He's been in possibly over 100 of my gameplay videos by now, and beyond that, he actively played Mario Kart Wii back in 2010. As such, he was familiar with Rich Petty and had raced with him on multiple occasions. So, come May 2010, Shrooby joined Jughead for a race session one night. And I had joined Shrooby. That led me to participating in a few races, and thus marked my first interaction with Juggy. It was Otherwise, uneventful, and I didn't record my perspective, and I hardly engaged with Jughead himself in any of the races. Jughead wound up keeping a race on N64 Bowser Castle for the night and uploaded it a few months later. And that was that. I met Jughead by bumping into him in 1 or 2 races, and that was it. Fortunately, it wasn't the only time that I ever got to participate in one of these Mario Kart Wii sessions, and it was far from the last. Our next encounter was 2 months later on July 10th, 2010, and this time I did record and upload my perspective under the title of Rich Petty Races. Also, in working on this video, I only just remembered that I themed the description of this video after The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, and I have no idea why I did that, but you know what? Past me, I'm pretty impressed with myself. From here, I would go on to join Jughead in the wacky world of online races and battles for dozens of other sessions. However, at the time, neither Shruby nor I had Jughead added on our friend rosters. This was because back in the Wii days, players had to add each other for each individual game, and Mario Kart Wii only allowed players to add up to 30 friends. So that meant that after 2+ years of racing, Jughead had long since filled up his friend list by the time I started racing against him, which meant that I had to add Jughead's friends onto my own roster and join through them if I ever wished to participate in a Jughead Rich Petty session. Basically, I was at the mercy of the availability of Jughead's friends if I wanted to play with Jughead. In hindsight, it seems kinda rude to phrase it like that, but that's just how it was. Due to Mario Kart Wii's friend roster limitations, I could not play against Jughead unless Jughead's friends wanted to play first. And then I had to get lucky and join through them. So as time went on, I befriended a fair share of Jughead's friends, and Mario Kart Wii was not the only game that he played or recorded. Though he would go on to become less frequent with it, Jughead was an active player of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. In fact, he actually got his start here before he got his big blow up in Mario Kart Wii. In between recording multiple Mario Kart Wii sessions, he'd also play Super Smash Bros. Brawl across several months and would compile highlights and amusing moments from his matches in order to produce highlight reels. Brawl also allowed players to add twice as many friends to its friend list than Mario Kart Wii allowed, so Jughead was much more open to the idea of adding players such as Shruby and myself to that roster instead. And so, Shruby and I began to occasionally join Jughead for some good old Super Smash Bros. Matches on the Wii, and the way that we went on to play our matches may come off as unconventional for some, or totally normal depending on whom you ask. See, Jughead preferred to play his matches more casually, opting to play in the same vein as someone playing with friends locally on a couch. We're talking playing in frantic settings, all the gimmicky stages, with every item on any character, the way the creator of Super Smash Bros. Intended, so to speak. That is to say, we didn't play competitively, we played to laugh and hang out. But notably, we seldom ever played stock matches. We almost always played time matches. This aided in creating a more casual and friendly vibe, so players with less experience and skill could still play just as much as someone more advanced. But there was also a secondary reason to ensuring that we played 2-minute time matches. Super Smash Bros. Brawl had a system where players could save replays, but they could only do so if the length of the replay was 3 minutes or less. So, Jughead opted to play 2-minute time matches to ensure that a replay of a match could be saved if a highlight were to occur, even if a sudden death were to extend the length of the overall match beyond the 2-minute time mark. Plus, these settings and preferences also served as the default settings and preferences if players were to play 4-player free-for-all matches against random opponents. So Juggy was effectively just mirroring that free-for-all environment, but in the more controlled space of a friend room than against a bunch of random players. While we would sometimes modify the rules by changing the available items or maybe playing an occasional stock match instead of a time match every once in a while, the norm was for us to play 2-minute time matches with items enabled on any stage. Anything goes. And this became our Friday night tradition, while weekends, usually Saturdays, were typically reserved for other games, namely Mario Kart Wii. So we'd play Super Smash Bros. Brawl on Fridays, and Mario Kart Wii on Saturdays. And after several years, when Jughead was done posting Mario Kart Wii content, we still continued to play Super Smash Bros. Brawl just about every Friday night. And this went on for years. Sure enough, Juggy would gather up a group of 4 players for Super Smash Bros. Brawl every Friday night, and different players would swap in and out. Then Jughead would create his highlight reels, and we'd often watch them together. Then, by 2014, Nintendo's successor console, the Wii U, had been on the market for a few years. And so by that point, Jughead and I had moved on to the sequels to these classic Wii games. Now, instead of Mario Kart Wii, we were playing Mario Kart 8, and instead of Super Smash Bros. Brawl, we were playing Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. Okay, and real quickly, because I feel like someone's gonna mention it, technically the direct sequels to these Wii games were the handheld games Mario Kart 7 and Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS, respectively, but Jughead didn't make series of those games. Actually, that leads into another quick tangent. Jughead and I eventually went on to play a variety of other games over the years. Even now, you can find Jughead in some of my Splatoon, Luigi's Mansion, and Pokemon videos. But at the end of it all, Jughead and I always met back up in Super Smash Bros. Just about every week, usually on Friday nights. And we continued our Super Smash Bros. Get-togethers with Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. I even recorded a couple of our sessions in Smash Wii U and uploaded them to my gameplay channel as part of my Smash It Up series. For a series that spanned over 100 episodes, Jug Head's sessions provided a nice contrast to the rest of my videos. While I was primarily playing one-on-one matches or team matches or amiibo matches, Jug Head's 2-minute time matches led to sessions that made for a nice change of pace, and they often contained their own hilarity. And, in hindsight, I'm glad that I was able to record and document these moments. And with the upgrade in hardware with the Wii U meant that replays can now be saved in greater time lengths. But even though these replays can now be well over the 3-minute mark on the Wii U, these 2-minute time matches were still what we played on the regular, and it just felt right. They still allowed for quick, casual matches where anyone could stand a chance, and reviewing my old replays of these matches is like looking at a time capsule, like I mentioned earlier. Good times, good times. And, just like with my Nintendo Switch, my most played game on my Wii U was Super Smash Bros., no doubt in part due to Jug Head's weekly gatherings. Though, looking at my Wii U history, this makes a bit more sense, since, as I previously mentioned, I posted over 100 videos of this game, and I'm glad that some of Jug Head's sessions could play a part in that accomplishment. And naturally, our get-togethers continued into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So even though I haven't posted nearly as much content of this game as I have with other Switch titles, or even Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, our tradition of playing these 2-minute time matches with items on, hazards enabled, whatever, still continues to this day. Juggy and I still meet up online just about every Friday night, and he still makes his highlight reels, and we still play a fair share of other games with one another every now and again. Of course, I also still played a ton of Smash matches on my own time, but Jughead's weekly sessions ensured that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate would be my most played Switch game by a large margin. But it's amusing to think about because they do start out as 2-minute time matches, but I guess all of these 2-minute matches have really added up over the years, huh? You play enough 2-minute time matches, eventually you reach 1,000 hours played in a game. Anyway, I acknowledge that this video kind of became more about Mario Kart and less about Super Smash Bros., especially when I was mentioning Mario Kart Wii, but I at least wanted to make note of both my overall Nintendo Switch playtime and my tradition of playing Smash matches with Juggy. These weekly Smash sessions have proved to be a significant and major part of my life across all these years, so it felt like a fun idea to bring up for a video topic. I mean, I've been participating in these group sessions for over a decade now, and it feels weird to have not yet made a video about it, unless you count me recording and uploading some of those Smash Wii U sessions that I mentioned earlier. But still, I wanted to create a designated video about it all. And even though these meetups have sadly become less and less frequent over the years due to our ever-changing lives, we still try to smash together as often as we can. We even played on a Friday night just the other week, and we may wind up smashing next Friday as well. And hey, now that I've created this video, that is another Super Smash Bros. Ultimate video that I can add to my collection that better justifies why my playtime is so huge on my Nintendo Switch. So here you go, here's another Smash Ultimate video for my playlists. Still not nearly as many Splatoon or Legend of Zelda, Animal Crossing, or heck, even Smash Wii U videos, but still, it's another Smash Ultimate video for my channel nonetheless. Otherwise, at this point, I guess you're more likely to catch me in one of Jughead's highlight reels than in a Smash Ultimate video on my own channel. Regardless, nothing will change the fact that I've been playing Super Smash Bros. In this format for over 15 years, and it's all thanks to these initial gatherings back on the Wii in 2010. It'd be nice to continue playing Smash with friends and to be participating in this weekly get-together tradition for another few years too. We'll see what happens. But hey, I can at least say this next part with some certainty. I'll likely meet up with Jughead again next Friday, and I look forward to playing another few hours worth of 2-minute time matches with items on and hazards enabled. Anything goes. And so, we've reached the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, please click on the like button or leave a comment. Either of those actions would really help me out. If you enjoyed this video and wish to see more like it, please consider subscribing so that you can stay up to date on all of my latest uploads. You can do so by clicking the big subscribe button, and even better, it's free to subscribe. Otherwise, thank you all so much for your support, and I hope to see you all in the future.